is Wednesday. Don't have my watch on. May 5th. Goodness gracious. 2021. It is 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're here to do our live chat tonight. We're going to talk about different types of threads you can use for your sewing. Not that I'm a thread expert, but we will talk about it, and then we can get opinions from people in the chat room. And also, we're going to do the May birthday shout out. So we're going to wait for people to get into the room since I just opened it. And hopefully everything will go well tonight. Pull you all up on my cell phone as well. All right. So also in the chat, let me know what it is that you're working on tonight. If you're working on a project. I haven't sewed a thing since Saturday night, I think, if I can recall right. Something like that, maybe Sunday. I was in a sewing Zoom retreat over the weekend, so I'd say Sunday maybe was the last day I sewed. Okay, so forgot to put my phone on no turn, and that's the first thing it did. Get rid of that. All right, so let's see who's here. Got Judy Smith says hi T and all from North Carolina. Vivian Cavey also is here, says hi T and everyone. Don Cunningham says hello T and hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. Mario D says hello from friendly Montreal. Lovely Wednesday here. Went for an hour power walk. Feels good. That's awesome. I want to get back into walking, but my neighborhood now has a lot of pit bulls in them, and I'm kind of scared of them. Jackie K says, hello T and all. Going down to freezing tonight in Ontario. The pansies are coming back in. Oh my. Vicki Lemire's here saying hello. Kevin the Quilter goes, Misty! Hi. Laughing out loud. Evening Quilters. Lisa Pegg's here saying, hey, Miss T and Quilters. And my brother Ray Mahone's here says, hi sis and everyone. Hope everyone's staying safe. Nice weather today. Slowing Down Joe says hi T and T Quilters. June Hansen says hi T and everyone. And Deanna J is here also saying hi T and everyone. Tucker Sewing and Quilting is here, says hey T and everyone, working on a paper piecing project while listening. Can't wait to hear this lecture on threads. Yes, I want your opinion too, sir. Jennifer Study is here saying hi T and everyone. Mario says gorgeous t-shirt T, thank you. Teresa McCormick says hello T and T Quilter, so glad I made it. Sin Forrest is here, hi Sin, she says hello T and T Family Quilters. Melissa LePage says hello everyone, God bless you all. I am currently pressing my sheets. I hope you're putting the sheets on the back of a quilt. Deborah Quilts is here, says hi T and all T Quilters. June Hansen's working on a Bargello quilt. Katrina says hello Miss T and everyone. Elizabeth Michelin says hi T from Labrador. Welcome to the channel, Elizabeth. Maria Mayer says hi T and everyone. Judy is here saying hello everyone. Robin Boyd also is here saying good evening Miss T and everyone. C-Rax says good evening Miss T and fellow quilters. Judy also says she's working on a Dresden plate blocks. That's cool. And then Carol Green says hi T and everyone. And Lisa goes, hi T, I received the missing check today. Return date was 5/3. Like what the heck? Now that's funny. Elaine Doucette says hello T and all. She says it's raining where she is. Don says I lost my sound. Anybody else? Make sure to give T a thumbs up, everyone. That's from Tucker. Thank you. Leetta Bryan says, hi TNT Quilters. And Elizabeth says, sewing stuff for an online auction, raising funds for volcano victims in St. Vincent. Very nice. We always come through for causes like that. That's pretty cool. Ella Odom says, good evening, Miss T and T Quilters. Billy Weatherreed says, hello, everyone. I am sorting scraps. And Robin says, I'll be listening while driving home from work. And Don is pinning borders on a quilt, then need to sew yardage together for backing. Tiffany's Quilting Life is here. Hi, Tiffany and Scott. She says, hi, T and friends. I am cooking breakfast burritos, so just listening for a little longer. Melissa says, no, I'm in them. Grandbaby ruined my back earlier. Oh, she's in them. Oh, my goodness. Hope you feel better. Maria says, just finished setting log cabin blocks on point. Very nice. Benita Nancy's here, says, hi, Miss T and everyone. And Teresa says, the project I'm working on is packing. It ain't pretty. Yes, I hate packing. My niece Lisa Thompson is here, says, hello to everyone. Deborah Sims Brown says, hi, T and everyone. Katrina says, I'm cleaning Shari's sewing room. And Janet Mackerel says, hello, T and T Quilters. So, that's not too bad today. 5 minutes for the shout outs. So again, for those that are just coming in, today we're going to be talking about different types of threads you could use in your sewing, mostly in quilting. And also we're going to do the birthday shout outs. So I'll wait for the birthday shout outs. I think 3 of you all are already in here. I think it's one more that's not, probably won't be in here, but we'll see. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and just start talking about threads. And hi to you, Cheryl Bean. She says hello to T and everyone. First off, I just want to start this thread talk. Again, I'm not a thread expert. However, the same thing as far as fabrics, you're going to have the different types of police. You're going to have the fabric police, you're going to have the quilting police, you're going to have the thread police. So I take all of that with a grain of salt. For me, if quilts are heirloom and we use threads in them and they've lasted over 100 years and they use threads that wasn't near to the quality or level of thread that we're using nowadays, so I don't think that there is a so-called bad thread. Okay, I think you have to determine what the purpose is for a thread and why you're using it. Like maybe you want a thread for a particular color, or because of the weight of that particular thread sinks into your fabric more, or maybe you like a thread because it's shiny or that it's variegated. There are some threads that have a long pattern for variation of when that thread color change, and then there's others that have a short variation of when variegated thread changes. So there are so many different reasons on why you would use one particular thread at one point and not use it to do something else. So just keep all of that in mind as we talk about threads. We got Roberta came in, says, hi TNT Quilter friends, I'm hand piecing a quilt I've been working on for about 8 years. It would take me that long to hand quilt a quilt. Roberta, that was Roberta. Sarah Haggerty says, where's the dang mind your own business police? They don't ever seem to come out. Yeah, they don't know how to do that. I don't feel that something is like in threads, that something is just absolutely something that I would not use. I even use older threads, and there is a way for you to test whether threads are good or not. And you can do the thread test. And if you pop a thread without putting excess tension on it, and then that thread breaks while you're doing that, then that's a bad thread. You may not want to use that thread. But if you can pop the thread and then the thread doesn't break, that thread is still strong enough to actually go through your sewing machine. Also, some things about threads is we all have different sewing machines, and we all have different types of thread guides that we've got to put our thread through. Your needle size can determine type of thread. So all of those are also factors that you want to consider when you're using a particular thread. So one thread for me may not be the thread for you. So I know Bernina has, when you go into the Bernina group, it's kind of split. You have, even in their book, they tell you what particular brands of thread they want to use, and it's a very limited brand of thread that they recommend. Me personally, I can use any thread in this machine. I haven't had a problem with any thread. Another thing with the Berninas, they tell you not to use sulky thread for machine embroidery. That's 90% of what I have. I do have some Robeson Anton. I have some Floriani, I think. But most of my colors are in sulky thread. I have never had issues with sulky thread like most machine embroiderers have with sulky thread. So I continue to use it. It's a reasonable price thread. I can get it at my local Joann's. They always put it on sale. And so that's what I tend to buy. So I don't have problems with the threads that people tend to always tell you to navigate away from. None of my projects have fallen apart because my thread broke. So I don't have those type of thread issues. So we're going to talk about the types of threads that I have. I will talk about some of the company names. I'll go over the list right before I go through the threads I have here. But one of the main differences in thread is thread weight. And I think that's more important than a whole lot of other things that are put out there. So most of the time we're sewing with more of a 40 weight thread. You can also use like a 60 weight thread for your bobbin. Some people like to use a thinner thread in their bobbin because it means they can get more thread on it. And then it's actually recommended if you are machine embroidering because you got so many stitches on the back that the thinner thread reduces the bulkiness on the back of your embroidered piece. So that's the main thing to remember about threads. Threads also come in plies. You can have 2-ply, 3-ply. I don't know the difference between them, like making any difference. Matter of fact, I piece with one that I think is a 3-ply, and then I quilt with one. No, in a bobbin of the same machine, I'm using a 2-ply. Let me make sure. Yes, and that's correct. And they're both 50 weight. So both of these are 50 weights, and one's a 2-ply and one's a 3-ply. They end up being the same thickness when you put those strands together, but having 3 strands over 2 strands, I'm not a thread expert. I did not even want to go out on the internet and try to collect that information to try to be you all's thread expert. I just know what I like. To me, the ply doesn't matter in my machine. I don't think that I have breakage because of how many ply it is. So I didn't go out and do all of that. All right, so I want to just go over some of the popular brands for threads. And I wrote down their names because I just didn't want to miss anybody. And I'm hoping that I didn't miss anybody that's like very popular that we use on a regular basis. And if I did, you all can let me know. But I put these in alphabetical order, and I did that because I didn't want to you to think that my list was a favoritism list. So first up is Coates & Clark, Guterman, Madeira, Metrozine, Metler, Robinson Anton, Signature, Sulky, Superior, Valdani, and YLI is what I have on the list. So first thing I want to talk about is what we're not going to use in our sewing machines, in any sewing machine, and that is hand quilting thread. And this is Americana's thread here. Just want to put it up here. And in the labeling, it doesn't even say that it's hand quilting thread. But this is a coated thread. You do not want to use a coated thread in your machine. It's this one has never been opened. I would pick one that hasn't been opened, wouldn't I? Let me see if I can pull it out. It's very thick thread. I used this a lot when I was hand quilting my quilts. They come in various colors. It's a thicker thread. You can feel that it's really strong. And what this will do, hand quilting threads can probably be threaded on your machine, but it will probably damage your tension. So you do not want to put hand quilting thread inside of any sewing machine. Just don't do it. So that's the thread that we do not want to use. All right, so we're going to start like with piecing threads, and technically any of these threads you can use to piece. Even a rayon, if you want to piece with it, you go right ahead. Now some people say that when they put heat on their rayon, it melts. I haven't had that happen. I've only had one thread that has heated when I melted it, and we'll talk about that when I get to it. So piecing, I'm just going to start with the basics here. So, of course, the first thread that I was aware of was Coats & Clark's Dual Duty thread, which is a polyester thread that's covered in it was like covered in cotton some kind of way, but underneath that core is polyester. Now, I don't really have a problem with whether a thread is polyester or cotton, just long as it's doing what I want it to do. I sewed all of my clothing with this thread. This is a thread that everybody now calls as a no-no thread. But I sewed many clothing with this, so many pair of pants, and if I can sit down with my pants on and my seams do not burst, I don't have a problem with the thread. Now, a lot of people are concerned about certain threads because of lint that it leaves behind, and that is true. Cotton threads or cotton covered threads do leave a lot of lint behind. But we have been told in all of our sewing manuals that we're supposed to clean these machines more frequently than we do. We just choose not to do it. And so if you're cleaning and changing needles after every project, then a cotton thread shouldn't be a problem because you're constantly cleaning anyway. So I don't have a problem using cotton. I actually piece with cotton. So I used this for many, many years. Another thread that came out, and I think it was called Star thread, was this thread that comes on these cardboard spools. This to me is Coats & Clark thread. It's just a bigger spool of it. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it has the same consistency and texture when I look at this thread as compared to using Coats & Clark. And I started buying these when I started doing like free motion quilting, because you could get more thread for your money over when I was quilting my quilts on my home sewing machines. Instead of using this thread, I would use this, and you would have to put one of those thread spool holders in here, and I don't even have them in here anymore because I don't use them anymore. But you would have to take one of those wooden dowels and put in here so that you could load this onto your machine. And as you all see, you can use your Orfeel empty spools, and you know this does come off, so I could use that as well as a dowel. So you don't have to, I say buy the thread you can afford and go from there. Now, technically, I would still be using Coats & Clarks today, but there are certain characteristics, especially when I got my Baby Lock Elagio. It had a bobbin that was very small, and so that bobbin would not hold a lot of thread. So that's when I switched to using Orfeel's thread, and I only use this in the bottom. And it's Mako, and I use any of their natural numbers. This happened to be 2310, but I also use like a light gray. I also use white. I use different beiges, whatever I can get my hands on, and I try to get the sale stuff first if I can find it. Whatever a place has, I try to buy it wholesale if I can as well. And I buy it by the box. Sometimes it's cheaper. The more thread you buy, the cheaper your thread is. But this is what I use in my bobbin. Now, technically, now that I'm using masterpiece thread to quilt with, so I use this spool for piecing as I'm going into my machine. And the reason why I'm now using masterpiece is I do like the thread. As again, this one is a 3-ply thread, just trying to make sure I'm not telling you something else. It's 50 weight, 3-ply. And I just like it because it's a bigger spool of thread. And so I put this on a stand. I make sure that that stand has a metal base so that it's not going to be bouncing all around like if I had one that was a plastic base. And then I use this to thread my machine. I have some people in the Bernina group saying that they can't use the standalone thing because their machine keeps coming up loose. There's a fix for everything. I just put it into my bobbin winder guide, and then I run it through my machine the regular way. I don't have any problems with this thread bouncing back out of the thread guide. I actually love this thread, and I just tried it because I was at a quilt show, and I tend to buy stuff when I'm at quilt shows so that I can test out for you all on YouTube, let you know if I like something or not. So, but I have been using this thread for many years, and I just like it because I don't have to worry about running out of this like I do when I have to replace my bobbin. So this goes a very long time. 25,000 yards on this. And Masterpiece is from Superior Threads, and that's another reason that I order, because you can open up wholesale accounts with Superior Thread, get your thread a little bit cheaper. And then the other thread that you can buy at Joann's is the Guterman thread. It is 100% polyester. That's why I saved it for after I did my other piecing threads, and that's the only reason I saved it for last, is because it's 100% polyester. I have a friend, I think Deborah Quilts, only uses a Guterman thread. She likes it. It doesn't have as much length because it is a polyester thread. I use it off and on. It's not one of those things that I have a whole lot of, but I do have a whole lot of Coats and Clark. I have it in all the colors. So when I'm doing tote bags and I need to top stitch and I need to match up my bobbin and my top thread, I tend to go to the Coats and Clark. And it's just because it's a little bit cheaper than Guterman, if I'm not mistaken, at Joann's. And so that's why I just stay with the cheaper thread, because I didn't really care if it was polyester or cotton at that point. So, all right, so now we've talked about top threads. And again, let me reiterate, the reason why I started using Affliate thread is because I was using it in a bobbin where the bobbin was a tiny bobbin, and I could get a lot more of Affliate thread on my bobbin than I could if I was using the Coats and Clark thread. And I don't know, let me see if it's telling me what ply this is. It just says all purpose, and it doesn't have any numbers on here. And now that it's on this particular spool, it's actually saying that it's 100% polyester now. I did not notice that. If I look at an old spool, it would say that it's cotton covered polyester. So yeah, that's different. So I just got more thread on my bobbins. And you know, once you start doing something, I think habits are one thing. They're kind of hard to break. I really don't think that I need to buy Affliate thread anymore if I'm using Masterpiece, because they're both 50 weight. One's just a 3-ply, one's a 2-ply. But you know, we're kind of creatures of habit. But I think once I run out of these, I'm going to run some bobbins and see how I like using Masterpiece in my bobbin as well. All right. So now we're going to go into quilting, and then we'll do a little bit more on bobbins. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit, because I actually have a thread that I use for my quilting in the bobbin. But I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those old school quilters. Again, we're back into cotton versus polyester and lint. And it depends on your sewing machines and all of that. You got to take all of that into play, how your machine is threaded, the power behind your machine. All of that is important when you're talking about threads that you're using. This is one of the first long arm threads that came out. It's called Permacore. And it is, I think it's even, let me see what they're saying it is. It says it's poly wrap poly now. But this got so much cotton in it, I don't even know how they can say it's poly wrap poly. Because this is the thread that people are now turning away from because it's very linty. However, I first started long arming on the gamels. This is what was out. And so I'm kind of one of those creatures of habit, as I tell you all. And I still love this thread to this day. My machine tension is just great with this thread on the gamel. So I use it. However, there is glide thread, which is a lot of long armers are now going to. And I don't have any name on this. Is it up here? Yeah, it's on the top. Sorry. I'm trying to make it so you can read. But this is glide thread. And let's see if it can tell me what ply. It's, this is lilac 100% polyester. It's made in the USA. It doesn't have any ply information on here. And then on this one, let's see. I'm trying to look inside at the label, guys. Hold on. It just says poly wrap poly, and I don't know why they don't put what the weights and stuff is on the labels, but it isn't there right now, so I can't help you with that. But a lot of people are switching from Permacore thread to the glide thread. I have purchased, and you can see I still got the labeling information on here. I've had this thread for about 3 years now. I bought about 4 or 5 different spools because when I was at a quilt show, they probably had where if you buy 4, you get 1 free or something like that. And I just haven't used it. Why haven't I switched over? Long arm quilting is a lot different than using your home sewing machines. When you start going from one thread to the other in long arm quilting, you've got to adjust tensions, and sometimes those tensions can be so dramatic. And if I'm going from one quilt to the next and I'm constantly having to change tension, when you get a long arm, or you people that have a long arm already, you already know we do not like playing with our tension a lot. We want to just do little minor tweaks, a quarter of a turn, a half a turn. When we got to start doing 2 and 3 turns of that tension guide, we're not happy quilters at that point. So we tend to stick with a thread that we've already got our machines tensioned for. And that's what I tend to do. So I tend to use this thread in the top. And I also can use signature thread, which also reacts like this Permacore without any adjustments. I'm trying to see if it's got any thread information. Nope. And it's got the same sort of labeling that's inside of this Permacore. But I'm telling you, whichever one you can get cheaper, signature, Permacore, or whatever, these threads react the same. I don't have to do any adjustments for those. Then you say, oh, I would like to have some variegated thread. And that's where the trouble comes. This is Superior Threads, and it's King Tut. They make beautiful threads. YLI is another company. Valdini is another company that makes awesome variegated thread. This thread, King Tut, is a lot thicker than the YLI or the Valdini. When you start using those threads, you're going to have to start making major adjustments. And even when I use King Tut, I've got to make some adjustments to my tensioning on my long arm system in order to use this thread. So I try not to use it a whole lot. I do for my customers when I'm using variegated threads. I do charge an upcharge for variegated thread, and that's because variegated thread costs so much more than just a solid thread. And so I try to recoup that cost. I don't charge my customers for regular cotton thread. It's just included in the cost of quilting. But if I start switching to variegated threads, then I do charge an upcharge for the variegated threads. And I do love them. And then I also, what I don't have in this room is, at one point I did a video on some threads that I had got from AliExpress that were polyester based variegated threads, and I can run them without making any tension adjustments, just like I do with my signature or my permacore threads. So I end up using those variegated threads before I even use the name brand, because I don't have to do major tension adjustments. But I find when I go to variegated threads, it just takes me so much longer to get my tension correct on my long arm machine. Another thread that is very pretty from Superior Threads, is 100% polyester, is their rainbows threads. They're very pretty. And this is the threads I was saying, if you want something shiny, then this would be your shiny thread. And I think Glide is a little bit shiny too. So some people don't like using Glide because they don't like any shine in their quilts. I could deal with the shine. And this saying here that it's a 40 weight thread on this one. So I do like that they tell you what the weight is on the threads. So I got just a few more here to talk about. And before I go to these here, I want to talk about thread charts. Some of your major thread companies, especially long arm companies, for each of their thread types, you can get a thread chart. And so what this does is, when you get home and you're thinking, oh, I ran out of a thread, or how many, what color threads do I need? You already know if that thread actually comes in the color that you're wanting or needing for your project. Now, this bottom line chart, this thread chart, is a very limited palette. And I do find that I have to use like a different shade sometime on the back and front. But I just go ahead and if I have a blue, I just try to pick one of these blues that will work best with what I'm putting on top. So they're not always exact. But I do like using the bottom line bobbin thread in my long arm machine, because I can get more thread on my bobbin, which means that I have less time that I have to change my bobbin out. And you can get pre-wound bobbins, but this thread is cheaper. I have an onboard bobbin winder that will wind thread while I'm quilting. I also have a standalone bobbin that I can wind thread on. So I just go ahead and just save myself the money of not buying the pre-wounds and go ahead and just buy it on the spool. And also because I can buy it wholesale. One other thread I left out of here. This is the bottom line, and it's 60 weight. So this is the thread I put in the bobbin. That's what we're talking about now. And I started using bottom line long time ago on my regular home machines, because I could get more thread on the bobbin when I was doing piecing as well. Not piecing, quilting, when I was doing the quilting. So I was already a fan of using their threads. And then when I got into long arm, I just made it my bottom thread. So every quilt I quilt has bottom line on it on the underside. So we're talking about bobbin thread. You can, a lot of people buy bobbin threads to use for machine embroidery. And then you can get it in black and or white. And this thread here is the finishing touch bobbin thread. I'm sure I don't have those right side up, but I'm sorry about that. And what's the weight of this? This is 90 weight on this black 100% polyester. And no, the white is 90 weight. And then the black is 60 weight. So you can get those too. And then one thread that, this is an older thread, and I just keep it as a reminder. Now, I know a lot of people use the invisible threads, and you can get it in the light and the dark, which would be closer to black, like a slate gray or something like that. When invisible thread first came out, it wasn't very well manufactured, and a lot of people were having tension problems with this. When the repair guys would go into the machines, they would see that the thread, because it's kind of like fishing line, it was tough thread. And so they were seeing some rubbing into the tension disc. And so the people here in this area that repaired machines just recommended that we not use invisible thread, because if it got cut in this guide as it was going through, we couldn't get to all those areas to get that thread out. So I stopped using invisible thread a long time ago. Now, maybe 8 years, 10 years ago, they come out with more better invisible threads. I'm just not an invisible thread fan. So I have never purchased any of the updated invisible threads that are out on the market to test them, because my machines cost quite a bit of money, and I don't want to be testing out threads and things that I knew was bad or had caused me some issues in the past. I did not want to go back and use those threads in my $5,000 and $10,000 sewing machines, okay? So I can't really tell you anything about invisible threads. I just want you to know that they are available. And then on the wall, I didn't pull any of the embroidery threads out because they're already in this room. But I told you already that I use sulky thread the most. I do have some Floriani stuff I got from when I attended classes. I got some Robus and Anton stuff from when I attended classes. I have some Madeira threads from when I attended classes. But I have not purchased any of those threads. If I'm going to purchase threads, for some reason I tend to go by the sulky brand. And up here you're seeing all of my smaller spools, my small and medium sized spools that I'm trying to get rid of. And then once I run out of those spools, I buy the sulky. It's stuck. It don't wrap around itself. I buy the bigger spools of sulky threads like this. So this is what I use now, and that's because I've got all of the different thread stands. Got one right here. And then I also have one for the Bernina that I haven't even put together yet. But I just go ahead and buy the bigger spools because I'm going to be using the thread anyway. And then it'll make me, these little things here, I hated these because they unwind. They're so tightly wound onto this base. And then when they come off, you got so many little zigzags. And I felt like all of those kinks was just more room for the thread to kink as it was going through the machine. So I've learned how to use thread stands to get my thread off. And then when it gets down to the end of the spool like this, I've got to babysit this. And that's why I'm changing over all of my spools to this. But once you buy thread, you know, it takes you years to get rid of thread. And so you have it for a long, long time. So you can't just get rid of stuff overnight, you know. So you know, when we're doing machine embroidery, I was doing a lot of Anita Good design things, and you could have 40 different thread colors that you needed in order to make a design. And if you didn't use that, or if you skipped and didn't get what they told you to get, then you would see the jump from one thread color to the other instead of a gradual change into that color. So it is important to have the thread. Thread to me is one of the most costly things. I've done just thread only pictorial embroideries, and then it would be say 12 by 18 when I'm done. And somebody will say, how much would you sell that for? And I'd say at least $300. And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Okay. Number one, each block took me about 35, 40 minutes to make. I had to spend about $100 in thread alone. And $300 is nothing for something that I've spent major hours for, you know, but they just don't get it. Thread is an expensive part of the sewing process. I do use, I have purchased connecting threads, essential threads. I have it sitting here. I have never used them, and it's not that I don't trust in them or believe in them. I just haven't gotten around to using them because I still got the other stuff that I'm trying to use up before I go to anything different. It doesn't have on here, it's size 50, and it says it's 100% long staple cotton satin finished threads, 1,200 yards. I know other quilters, when we meet at the guild meetings, that love this thread. I also have just one spool because I just want to try it out of the thread from Missouri Star. I haven't had a chance to try it out. This thread is 100% cotton quilting thread, size 50. So Any of these threads will work for piecing, or you can quilt with them. You can do whatever you want if it suits the process that you want. Main thing about thread, if you want to, I think everybody should experiment. I think I was asked about thread, to talk about thread. If you're having some concerns about thread, the main way you can quell those, or shall I say, figure out whether you want to use a thread or not, is to buy that thread and then use it in different ways. Piece with it, see if it will piece. If you want to machine quilt with it, set your machine up to machine quilt something. Just use a scrap. You don't have to have anything serious that you're working on, and then go ahead and do that. If you want to machine embroider with it, you can do that. Who's to say that I can't use my rainbow threads to machine embroider with? That's not what they were made for, but I might want to try it. I might like it. They were made for quilting, to give you a pretty, so that your quilting stands out when you were doing the quilting. But I might want to embroider with them. I could do whatever I want with the threads when I get home. I just need to figure out how I want to use it, check it and see if I can do that with it. And if it's not going to work, then you know you can't use it that way. So I think the main thing is to experiment with the different threads, different weights, different types, the shine, the non-shiny. You might be surprised. You might like the shiny thread in your quilt, or it might be appropriate for a particular quilt. Maybe it's a 25th anniversary quilt and you want to use some of the metallic threads, like your golds. They are a little bit more tedious to work with. I have some sitting here. I always put a net on top of it, and it is a good brand. It is Superior Threads brand. So when you're using particular types of thread, you want to make sure that you've got a good company that you're using these threads for, because all metallic threads are not made the same. So it's just different things that you've got to do to make those threads work for you. So I haven't looked in this chat thing in a while, so I'm sure it's a whole lot that's being said. Like I see where C-Rack says, I can't stand winding bobbins. It's not one of my favorite tasks, but like I wind when I had my regular sewing machine bobbins, I would wind, say, 10 bobbins, and then that would last me for a good chunk of time. And then I just sit there, I look at television, and I just wind the bobbins and I get it out the way. I'm not winding 1 or 2 bobbins. I wind and I look up and I might have half of this thread off of here by the time I've wound all the bobbins that would fit inside of my old machine. Now, Bernina, their bobbins are a lot bigger. I can't even tell you sometimes when the last time I wound a bobbin, because they hold a lot of thread. And you can see here, I got a total of 9 bobbins in here, plus the one that's in my machine. So I wind all 10 of these bobbins and get them all filled. And then I can't even tell you a date of when I did my last bobbin. That's how far in between. So jobs I don't like to do, I go ahead and just get it out the way. And I do the same thing with my long arm quilting. I can wind a bobbin while I'm quilting, but I also have a standalone bobbin. So I'll go and wind one over there and have one on my machine. So I'm always winding a bobbin as I'm running my machine, especially if I'm doing a bed-size quilt, very dense quilting. I know I'm going to be using about 5 or 6 bobbins easily. So I just go ahead and get ahead of the need for the bobbin. And then when I'm toward the middle to the end of the quilt, I don't even have to wind bobbins anymore. I already got them ready to go. And I bought about a gross of bobbins when I bought my long arm machine, so that I could always have at least 2 bobbins filled with each color. And by that, I mean, if I'm using a bobbin, I already got that color inside the machine, and then I have another bobbin ready to go. And then if my quilt ends, I'm going to still have that full bobbin of thread, plus whatever I have left over from the previous project. So I always try to keep at least 2 bobbins of a thread. So that's why I have so many bobbins. So I'm just going to go back a little bit and see what the comments are. Roberta says, I like Guterman for hand piecing. And I use Guterman. I'll use like Guterman because I got a few spools of it, but mostly Coats and Clark. When I'm hand sewing my bindings to the back, I just pull that because I got all the colors in those. Whereas I don't have all the colors. I do have all the colors in like permacore, but not in like what's considered to be piecing thread. Cynthia Shea saying good evening to all Teaquilters. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome. June Billing says hello to everyone. Maya Rayner says hello from Nevada Desert. Hello to you. Vanessa Brown's here saying hi, TNT Quilters. Carla Ford says hello, T and fellow quilters. Debbie DaCosta says, I love guide for free motion quilting. Yes. And there are some people that are absolutes, and that's all that they're going to use. But I use a lot of it. But I have never even used the glide, although I got, like I said, about 5 spools of it. I'm just a creature of habit, and I know it's gonna work, and I just go for it. And I don't want to be bouncing back. I got so much permacore thread in my stash that if I got to go back and forth to switch while I'm trying to do that, I don't want to do that. I feel like if I'm going to switch over to glide, I'm going to have to get rid of all of my permacore. And that's expensive if I was to then go buy all of those spools and glide. And I'm just not ready for that mentally yet. I just don't want to do it. But I feel like the people that use glide really love glide. Kelly A is here saying, good evening, Ms. T and fellow quilters. Hope everyone is doing well. Let me see. Deborah Sims says, I just started using glide for quilting and really like it. Tiffany is back. I read some of these. Remember, size needle is determined by size of thread. Yes, and I did talk about that at the beginning where I said, that all is a lot of factors that determine the thread you're going to use. I did talk about needles. And the fact that you need to change needles. That makes a big difference too. Dawn says she uses glide a lot. And Cheryl says, oops, I just bought a lot of that Americana quilting thread. Yet I didn't pay too much for them or damage my machine. Thanks so much for the info. And these threads will not damage your machine. I still use them. I just use them instead of using them on my sewing machine. I used these on my sewing machine for years with no problem. I figured if I took these, I now store them in with my long arm, and I can get rid of these faster than I can if I'm using it in here. So that's why they're no longer in here. The only time I use color thread in this room is if I'm machine embroidering over here, or if I'm doing the top stitching on a tote bag and I need to have my threads match. That's the only time I use color thread. So that's far in between. So I take all of these and put them in my long arm area, and I have been just gradually getting rid of these. And it's not because it's a bad thread. They actually quilt up just fine. They're just a lintier thread because it's a 100% cotton or a covered polyester covered cotton. But yeah, it's I didn't have any problems with this thread. That's what I'm saying. You're going to have a lot of people telling you not to use particular threads, but these threads are no problem. And if I'm doing like this and this thread isn't breaking, that's a good thread. This thread is years old. There isn't anything that to tell you what the lifespan of thread is. And then you have people go, oh, that thread's 20 years old. I'm not going to use it. Long as you do the pop test on your thread, and it doesn't snap in your hand, this thread is okay to use in your machine, and it's going to hold up in your project. So that's the thread test. So use that thread, girl. And just clean your machine. Claudette Bettis is here saying hello, T and everyone. Damali J says, hi, Miss T and Quilters. I'm still in Ashbrook, North Carolina. Great weather, 75 degrees. Ellen also came in saying hello, T and Quilting friends. Kimalina's here also saying good evening. Barbara Polk saying hi, everybody. I'm not going to get all of you, I'm sure. Joan says, my machine won't work with Guterman thread. Keeps breaking. Loves Orfeel. And that's what I was telling you. Like all these different machines, they got different things on the inside for tension guides. Got different things it's got to go up into threaded different. All threads are not going to work for everybody. If you're not having a problem with a thread, you keep using it. In my Bernina group, they don't even want to talk about sulky threads. It stitches in mine just fine. Stitches in my Bernina just fine. I don't have all those issues. But some people can't use the thread. So then you have to go use something else. I don't know what the issue is, but it just doesn't work for everybody. And it's the exact same sewing machine. So that's what's weird. Quilt Gal says, I love Masterpiece thread. Is cotton thread better when you iron so much? I would say this rainbow thread from Superior, I quilted a whole quilt with this, and I'm one of those people, it was going to be a wall hanger, so I went and started pressing it so that I could, really make it flat and beautiful, because I had some fusible batting in there, and I wanted the batting to get hard from the iron after I quilted it, so that it could be stiff, a stiffer wall piece. And my thread melted. So you do have to be careful with the rainbows thread. Now, I'm not saying that all polyester thread will melt, but I know rainbows will. I don't use any other polyester, 100% polyester thread, so I can't tell you about heat, but I would most definitely say you may not want to use as much heat if you're going to iron something with polyester thread. And on my Rayon threads, I've heated my Rayon threads, which is the Sulky brand, and I haven't had any problems with that, although some people said that their Rayon thread burned. I haven't had any thread burn with that, and I've used a lot of embroideries in my quilting projects. Love glide thread on everything. Maria says, I have lots of bright colors, but dual duty, 250 yards, all-purpose threads from Greer, South Carolina, but it says Mexico at the bottom. Does it not say if cotton? It does not say if cotton or else. I just love the colors. Yeah. Let me get an old spool of Coates and Clark, because it used to say that it was covered in something. And it's, see this spool here? It says mercerized cotton, and then it says like covered polyester. That's what it says. Mercerized cotton, covered polyester. On this new spool, because when I went on retreat, this is the only reason I have the newer spools, is when I went on retreat in 2018, I took thread in case one of my people from out of town forgot to bring thread. And so this one says that it's Coates and Clark dual duty, but it says it's 100% polyester. I'm shaking on that. I can't get it to be still. But it's a difference now in the threads. But I use whatever. Just long as I can keep working, that's what I'll use. And you will find what you like, and you will buy what you like, and you can buy what you can afford and still get your project done. That's the main thing. Glide is a 3-ply tri-global. Directs light giving. It's a high sheen, so is Isocord. Originally marketed for the machine embroidery industry. That's from Don. Love King Tut, but it's linty, yes. But it is thinner than the Valdani and the YLI variegated threads. I charge more for variegated too, because I get half the spool for double the price, and that's Tiffany, yes. Because it's a thicker, normally they're thicker threads. Don says, I've read the reason for variegated threads is hard on tension is that the darker dye sections are thicker than the lighter sections. And that I have no idea about. Mary Woods is here saying hello. Maddie Barnum says hello to you and everyone. I like the shiny threads, yes. And if you like shiny threads, you can quilt with sulky thread. It'll quilt. It's shiny thread. You can quilt with your machine embroidery thread. Just because a thread is made for one purpose doesn't mean it can't be used for another. Think about machine embroidery where you've got, these machines are just running constantly. Our machines are slowing down, speeding up when we're quilting and piecing. If embroidery thread can be ran through your machine at that high of a speed, that fast of a speed, then you can definitely machine quilt with it as well, or piece with it if you want. You can do whatever you want, but it's not to say that one thread's created for a particular purpose and you can't use it to do something else with it. Mario says, only 3 thumbs up. I know the lecture is interesting, but please. That is funny. Is invisible same as transparent? Yes, Mario. And Billy says, today is my 69th birthday. Happy birthday to you, Billy. We're going to talk about birthdays here in a minute. Just trying to get some of the people that had come into the chat late and get some of the comments read. But I see a lot of people are telling Billy happy birthday. Mario says, I love winding bobbies. It's easy with my brother. Yes. Kim Alina says, when I get to the end of a thread spool, I use the thread to fill the bobbin. It tangles too much at the end. And that's a good idea too, especially when you've got these over here. Sometimes in some of your in the hoop projects, you might need to have the same color bobbin thread. Then those are great to go get the small spools and put those on your bobbin. And also, I forgot to tell you all about bobbins. That's what I forgot, is when I'm doing string piecing and then I put like colored threads on my bobbin and I want to get it off, I use it up when I'm crumb piecing or string piecing, because I've got so many colors that I'm using that if the thread shows a little bit here or there, it's not important. I have never really had my bobbin thread show on the top of my project, but when you're doing scrap projects, that's a great time to use up the color threads that are on your bobbin that you need to get those colors off. So you don't want to just unroll it and toss it. Dee Dee Hansen here from Michigan joining. Did you make a YouTube of quilts for April? I can't find it. Did I miss it? No, I did not. I have not even edited the one I had from February. I did not do one in March, and I started the video for April and have not even finished that video for April. So not yet. I might just slam everything into one video. Who knows what I'll do when I get around to it. Nikki the Vet says, hi everyone from Gulfport, Mississippi. Hi Nikki, welcome. Eric Oda also saying hello. We only got like a few minutes left. I see a lot of people are coming in here, but I want to do the birthday shout outs and go ahead and do the drawing for that. So if you are here, we've got on May 8th, birthday coming up in 3 days is Debbie Kellogg Hinkabean. Her birthday is May 8th. Happy birthday to you, Debbie. Deborah Holloway has a birthday on 5/20. Happy birthday to you as well, Deborah. Hope you have a great day. So I'm folding those up for a drawing. On the 27th, we have Wendy Jones. Happy birthday to you, Wendy. Birthday May 27th. It's getting close to around Memorial Day for you, girl. And then we also got Mario Dennis, whose birthday is May 31st. Happy birthday. I hope you all are celebrating all month. I celebrate as long as they'll let me celebrate. So I'm going to just pick somebody to win today. And since we are talking about thread, I got a winner in my hand. You're going to actually get a spool of threads, a spool of Orfield thread, the 2310. And the winner of that is Mario Dennis, May 31st. And Mario is ordering a t-shirt, so I'm just going to hold this and send all of this at the same time. He's in Canada. That'll save me shipping. Put it all in there. So congratulations, Mario, on the win. That was awesome. And then we also had some people that were posting pictures of projects that we worked on here or things that we were doing. We had 4 people that had already done the pin cushion, but we had some more people came in since Monday. That's Vanessa Brown. We also had Wendy Davis Jones, whose birthday is this month. She did a pin cushion. Janice Wright did a pin cushion and uploaded photo. And then we also had Vivian Calvi upload photo. So I have all of those names here. I have Shaquita Pearson out of Atlanta. If you don't mind me giving her your address, She really wanted these to go to beginners, but I have exhausted all of the beginners. She's given away bags of strings and crumbs to 3 people. And then I'm going to put everybody's name. So I've got all the people whose name I read on Monday, like Patricia Ilsley, Kevin Huffman, even Shaquita's in here. Janet Mackerel twice because she worked on the pincushion and the swap blocks. And then we've got Betsy, who I don't think she's in here tonight. And Karen Dunn. Now, the key to winning any of this, Mario, you need to email me. No, you don't, because you've got an order. I'll hold yours. You've already won yours. But if your name is called in any of this, you need to email me at teaquilts@teaquilts.com in order to get your package. And also be okay with me giving Shaquita your mailing address. So she's going to pay for the mailing, and then she's going to send you some strings and or crumbs. Okay? So just a little fun thing to see what other people's fabrics are from across the way. And we're going to move the birthday ones out. I almost want to dump the thread out. Ain't that terrible? See if I can move this stuff down. Ugh. And just pop these in here and pull out some names, right? And if Shaquita's name come out, I'll send her a string or bag crumb that she's trying to get rid of, okay? So here we go. Number 1 is Vivian Calvi. That's number 1. You can send me, just go ahead and send me your information. And what I'm going to do is just forward that email to Shaquita. If you don't want her to have your information, then don't send it. Next one is Karen Dunn. If you want a scrap bag, please send it. I am going to give you until Saturday to notify me, because I'm not going to wait forever. If you're watching the uploads, you got to be watching them soon. I'm going to give you till Saturday, because if the people that I'm pulling now, they don't contact me on Saturday, I'm going to be pulling from the rest of these names in here. So notify me by Saturday. And the last one is Wendy Davis Jones, birthday girl one. So if Shaquita is giving out bags of strings and craps, that she's strings and scraps, not crap. And she's gonna pay the postage and everything for you guys. So she notified me. So please let me know if you want it or not, and we'll go from there. So thanks everybody for coming into the chat tonight. I appreciate it. I know I didn't get to read every comment. If it's something that you really, really need and I didn't answer it, just go ahead and either put it in the comment section, or you can email me at teaquilts@teaquilts.com. And thanks, Tiffany. I see that she also posted. I just went down to the bottom. So yeah. So like, I'll just keep these names in here. If I don't hear from these 3 people by Saturday, then I'll be pulling more names. So, and also, if you are working on the block swap, or if you are making a pincushion, please post it on Teaquilts, because there may be some more drawings for that, okay? I'm trying to not just give out prizes to people that may pop in once or twice here or there. I'm trying to give prizes to people that support the Teaquilts channel, the Teaquilts brand, that are here with me. I want to know your name, and when I call your name, I want them to be winners of people that I know. So please, if you have worked on any of those projects, please put your name up there, because it's probably going to be more stuff that's going to be given away. Okay? So thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and end here. You all have a good evening. Stay safe, be blessed, and quilt out, everybody.